So, I talked about this being a social movement, and that's the most crucial message that I want to leave you with, is that you need to be really vocal. You need to be talking to people, and it's really important to think of yourself as an educator. That's one of the things that I learned when we took on the Koch brothers, because on the one hand we were in a fight, but even more so we were in an education process, because we have to educate the Public Utilities Commission and the Department of Agriculture. And that's what you have to do. You have to go out, you've got to educate the grocery stores where you shop, or the grocery stores in your neighborhood. Go in there and tell them that you won't buy the food in their store until it is labeled. If you own stock in a company, tell that company that you have this policy. Tell absolutely everybody, and stand firm. When you go in those grocery stores, know that it's everywhere. 80% of the processed food in those grocery stores contains GMO. The meat department, the animals are fed GMO feed. We need to be talking to all those areas. And then there's the alternative. As an organic vegetable farmer, we would never have been successful without our customers. That's what it took to make our farm a success. The fact that we had a relationship with our customers. We could do the things that we had to do, take the risks, build the infrastructure, all of those things to be able to be a successful farm, and to really fight GMOs, and to really fight Monsanto, we have to create the alternative. So support those local farmers.
This is the March Against Monsanto at the Minnesota State Capitol.
Buy as direct as you can, either from the farmer or from a store that buys from those farmers. In the Twin Cities, we are so fortunate to have so many natural food co-ops. I want to, before I leave here, thank 3 people who have been amazing organizers for this event. And that is Dan Allen. Are you guys around here? He's over there. She's up there so people can see you, Dan. And Abby Ray McComb, she's right here. And Martin Brown. And Cobra Kai. So, say no to GMO! We're something. Sorry. Yeah, you've seen it differently. How good of a speaker is she? Wow, that was awesome. A few more shout-outs, and actually inside of these, I want to point out that these tents are all populated by some really awesome organizations. We've got Rice Mill, Minnesota here. They will be able to provide answer after answer regarding the Minnesota GMO labeling laws. We have the Land Stewardship Project, yeah, the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, Move to Amend. I'm having to whack really hard right now, I'm sorry. And a few others, and if I forgot you, I promise I'll remember you the next time I'm at the microphone. On top of that, I want to say thank you to Food Democracy Now!, to the Organic Consumers Association, and the Rice Mill Minnesota for being so really very helpful during the organization of this. They were so prompt to answer emails and take telephone calls every time a question came up. And while they did not sponsor with money, they definitely were the sponsors of our sanity. And I feel like that is as valuable as any dollar. Next up is Alan Moody of Sinister Dane and the Kickapoo Disco Cosmonauts. Alan Moody has been a member of the organic community since 1987 and a farmer since he was 14. He's been a farmer organizer, an organic certifier, a cattle farmer, a geologist, and much, much more. Very many pages of experience. He counts among his greatest success that his daughters grew up, moved out, and still eat organic food. Minister Danny McKickapoo Cosmonauts was formed when Alan and fellow organic farmer and activist Mark Shepard played together at the 1997 Upper Midwest Organic Farmer Conference. Shortly thereafter, Jim Pierce joined the band on harmonica, and Jeff came shortly thereafter on the bass guitar. Minister Dan is the house band for the annual Moses Organic Farming Conference, and they have the funniest songs. I'm very, very excited that we get to hear them today.
So, this is the March Against Monsanto at the Minnesota State Capitol. Really good turnout today. There were just blocks and blocks of people on the march. I got here late, but it's just a great turnout. There's a lot of foodies in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, so you have a lot of people representing stuff like co-ops and that kind of thing. Like, it's a state that really respects organic food and is always spearheaded alternative industrial agriculture. So, anyway, yeah, March Against Monsanto been very successful. About 65 degrees, no rain, perfect weather.
I handed out some sing-along cheat sheets. Anybody out there got one? Two? That's it? I just heard two? Three, maybe? All right, well, you know who you are. We're going to do a couple of sing-along songs. My friends wrote this. We wrote this one song. You've heard Johnny Cash do a version of it. We'll give this a try. Normally, I don't do the whole song by myself. I was toting my pad along the fields and countryside, when along came a crop duster spraying sundown past the sky. It burned my eyes and throat. I couldn't find no place to hide. So I flagged down a funky trip on his way to the March Against Monsanto rally at St Paul, Minnesota, and I settled down inside. And he asked me if I'd seen so much poison sprayed by just one name, and I said, listen, they're spraying everywhere in this land, they're spraying everywhere, and they're spraying everywhere, across America's farmland, polluting the soil and the waterland, they're spraying all over this world, they're spraying everywhere. That was your part, by the way. Where are they spraying? I'll let you know. Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Kansas City, Sioux City, Cedar City, Dodge City. What a pity! All right, everybody, it's your part now. They're spraying everywhere, and they're spraying everywhere, across America's farmland, polluting the soil and the waterland. They're spraying all over this world, they're spraying everywhere. Well, unfortunately, they're spraying chemicals that sound a bit like this. Stainless, Methamix, Spartan, Level 3, High Bar, Belfar, Sinbar, DCB, Veterinarius, Randall, Lasso, Pinnamek, Blue, and Fruit, with Salvo, Marksman, Top Notch, Touchdown, Boundary, Liberty, Charity, DDB, Mercy! They're spraying everywhere, and they're spraying everywhere, across America's farmland, polluting the soil and the waterland. They're spraying all over this world, they're spraying everywhere. It's the slow, wooden, Charlotte, Siren, Maxim, Madison, Barber, Stingbar, Stingbar, Sunbar, Soygar, David, Lancer, and Lucy, Peter, Dynasty, Bears, and Six-Star, Bravo, Enhanced Legion, Captain, Iron Law! Hi, everybody! They're spraying everywhere, and they're spraying everywhere, across America's farmland, polluting the soil and the waterland. They're spraying all over this world, they're spraying everywhere. Well, they're still spraying. Roll up pockets, bandit woods, and whack out Bible, full-time warden, frontier hunter, steadfast partner, active hunted, proud new monitor, force on you, come fear, Dan, Academe, Dynasty, suicide, battery! They're spraying everywhere, man, they're spraying everywhere, across America's farmland, polluting the soil and the water, man, they're spraying all over this world. They're spraying everywhere. One more time. They're spraying everywhere, man, they're spraying everywhere. Across America's farmland, pollution, soil, and the water, man. They're spraying all over this world. They're spraying everywhere. Sad to say, there's 69 different farm chemicals in that song, and it was not hard to find them at all. You go online, you'll find hundreds of farm chemicals, ag chemicals, and it's too bad, because we don't have to do that to raise good food, healthy food on this planet and feed these people on this planet. We do not need to do that. As far as I'm concerned, Monsanto and their GMO genetics are just nothing but a bully and a common thief. And they are stealing our heritage, humanity's heritage, one plant variety at a time, like the team was talking about. Thank you all for coming out to march against this madness, this insanity. Okay, hey, we got another sing-along. How many of you are older than dirt? You know this song, right? This song comes from Country Joe and the Fish. Everybody's got a sing-along part. It's out there. Can you all count? Follow me. And it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What are we spraying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. It's a chemical promised land. And it's 5, 6, 7. Get ready to terminate. Ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. If I get it in the right key. Well, come on, all of you farming folks. Old Monsanto, the glowing smoke, they got genetic freaks. Corporate greed, you can trade anything, but you can't trade seeds. They're changing Mother Nature's rules, they're changing the pool. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we spraying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. I should have get the chemical promised land. And it's 5, 6, 7, get ready that time to me. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. That wasn't a very good job, folks, I'm telling you right now. I was in Tanzania and an orphanage of girls did a way better job than y'all just did, okay? I can't stay here all day, but I want a little participation, okay? Sending a message out to Monsanto, right? Try again. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we spraying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. That's chemical promised land. And it's 5, 6, 7, get ready to terminate. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. Well, come on, farmers, get off your ass. Roundup Ready is here at last. You sign away your privacy when you buy into technology. Don't be the last move on the block, growing genuine Frankenstein cars. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we spraying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. This chemical promised land. And it's 5, 6, 7, get ready to terminate. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. Well, come on, planters, don't go slow. This world needs GMOs. There's plenty good money to be made. Shopping those jeans with the tools of the trade. You know when that guy there is rolling the dice. That's what happens when you cut and slice. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we spraying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. This chemical promised land. And it's 5, 6, 7, get ready to terminate. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. Well, come on, mothers, get out the land. Put your faith in Monsanto's hands. Now, come on, fathers, don't hesitate. To catch your son, it's not that great. It's alright if you trust in me. Remember, DDT. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we praying for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. It's chemical promised land. And if I couldn't get excited that time of day, well, there ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. Ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. Ain't no time to wonder why. You can kiss your farm goodbye. All right, folks, don't let it end today. All right? The fight continues, and it's a bummer, but it does. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Have a great time.
He's very tall. Thanks, Elmer. And here's the first name. As we said, don't let it stop here. That's why we brought these organizations for you to mix and mingle with. Organic Consumers Association is with us to provide a ton of tips on how to keep this alive in your day-to-day life. The Stewardship Project is here with us today. The Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, one of your favorite websites. Livestream, Minnesota, News to a Man, and Food Freedom Radio on AM 950. If you guys want to check out AM 950, you should. It's good. Quick, hey, how much do co-ops rock? Yes, louder, because co-ops are awesome. Steward Food Co-op, Eastside Food Co-op, and Mississippi Market Natural Foods Co-op all sponsored this event, and eagerly, and at the demand of their members. Aren't co-ops cool? I would like to introduce Nancy Brown from Wrightsville, Minnesota. Nancy is a full-time mom and is the founder of Wrightsville, Minnesota, a citizen that campaign to pass a law labeling genetically modified foods in Minnesota. Wrightsville, Minnesota is a member of the National Coalition of States for GMO Labeling, which now includes 37 states and Canada. Brown Foods labeling of GMOs is a means of broadening access to safe and healthy foods for everyone. I hope that you all really enjoy her talk. Thank you. It's great to be here. Well, I guess the main reason I'm here today is because I feel like the FDA has failed in its efforts to ensure a safe food system for us in this country. I have to admit that I feel I was the beneficiary of what Michael Pollan recently called the two-tiered food system. As in, there's food that's safe and healthy that some of us have access to, and then there's food that isn't healthy and isn't safe that the rest of us eat. I used to always shop at the food co-ops, and I assumed that shopping at the food co-ops meant that I was buying and feeding my family's non-GMO food. Then I found out one day that the cereal I was feeding my children every day had 90% GMO soy in it. And I was really shocked. I went to my food co-op and said, how can you sell this? And they said, well, people buy it, what can we do? And since then I've talked to farmers who say, well, I don't want to grow GMOs, but people want to buy GMO foods. And I talked to seed suppliers who say, I don't believe in GMOs, but people want to buy GMO seeds. And it just became clear that there's nobody in the system that wasn't stuck. The only people in the system that had the leverage and the capacity to change it were consumers and citizens and people who could take labeling to the state legislatures and make labeling happen and force the issue. This has only been 15 years that we have had genetically modified foods infiltrate our food system. We have to walk it back. We've been farming for thousands of years. There's no reason that we can't walk this back. As many of you probably know, when the FDA first started regulating these foods in the early 1990s, their own scientists raised concerns about these foods. They said they didn't know what the human implications were on health,
They were worried about new allergens. They were overruled by a Bush White House who told the FDA, your job is to support the biotech industry. And that's what they did. We're unusual in this country in that we believe the FDA is protecting us. In Europe, they know their regulatory agencies aren't protecting them. In the United States, we believe that they are. But that's what they did. A former Monsanto attorney wrote the regulations that govern GMOs at the FDA, and to this day, the only safety testing required on GMO foods is done by the agrochemical companies that sell these products. So they become, as you know, widespread in the U.S. food system. Corn, soy, canola, sugar beet, cottonseed. If you're buying it at a grocery store, it's most likely GMO. And this is despite the fact that animal studies link it to infertility, organ damage, cancers, allergies. The University of Minnesota's own Food Policy Research Center found that about half the study shows some risk. And as a parent, I want to say, if I'm taking a risk, if I'm putting my children at risk, the least that I deserve is to know. The least I deserve is to have that information on the label so I can make the decision. All three of my children have food allergies. I've never had a food allergy in my life, so it took me a while to figure out what was going on with them. But if you have young children today, you know that food allergies are epidemic. You can't take cupcakes to a picnic anymore because the kids can't eat them. I went with my 5-year-old son to a birthday party. They served a nut-free, wheat-free, dairy-free cake. Our children's bodies are rejecting normal foods. I talked to farmers who said they're taking their livestock off GMO feed because their livestock are infertile and they're sick. And we're still feeding these foods to our children. This is the first generation in human history that have been raised since before birth on genetically modified foods. We have no idea what that's going to do. We have yet to find out. What's happening around the world is that people are realizing that their central governments are bought out by the biotech industry. And people are realizing that it's going to be up to them on the grassroots level to make this change. So municipalities around the world are banning GMOs. They're requiring labeling. They're starting to ban imports. They're banning cultivation. This is all happening on the grassroots level, and it's not because of the central government, it's in spite of them that this is happening. Washington, D.C. is no different. As many of you know, more than 1 million comments were sent to the FDA over a year ago, telling them we demand GMO labeling in this country, and they did nothing. And that's why when we started the Coalition of States for GMO Labeling, we started with 14 states, and now we have 37 states, plus Canada. There are people in the U.S. who have been talking about labeling, working on this issue, worried about GMOs for more than 20 years, and they have said they have never seen a grassroots movement like they have seen in the last 2 years. There's also nonprofit advocacy organizations that have worked on this issue. They've been working in isolation on these campaigns, and someone told me from one of those nonprofit advocacy organizations that the entire movement is turned upside down. They are now scrambling to try to support the grassroots energy in this country around this issue. So we've come a long way just in the last couple years. So what can each of us do? This is what it really comes down to, because there's really nobody but us. I'm a full-time mother. I also work. I don't even really have time to work on this. None of us do. But we have to do it. We have to do it, and our children are going to thank us someday. There was a labeling advocate in Connecticut where they just passed, the Connecticut Senate, 35-1, passed GMO labeling on Tuesday. The Vermont House, after 2 years of hard work by dedicated volunteers just like all of us, they passed GMO labeling last month. So it's working. The grassroots movement is working. But what I really realized, and what I think we all need to realize, is no one's going to save us on this one. Nobody's coming to our rescue. The federal government is not coming to our rescue. Even the state's not coming to our rescue. It's really going to be up to us to make right buying decisions and to say, we demand GMO labeling. What you can do. What I'd ask you to do is, number 1, call your legislator. People think legislators are hearing from people. They're not really hearing from that many people. If they get 3 or 4 phone calls, it's a groundswell. They know that 300 or 400 people are worried about something, thinking about something, want action on something. So every single call you make, to the Minnesota House and the Minnesota Senate saying you support these GMO labeling bills, every single one of those calls counts. We've got an uphill battle in the Minnesota State Capitol because we're an ag state. We grow 80%, 90% GMO corn and soy. But 9 out of 10 of us want GMOs labeled. So we can make it happen. Every one of us who wants GMOs labeled needs to take action. Visit your legislator. That's the best thing to do. If you can't visit, call them. If you can't call them, write to them. Sign up on righttoknowmn.org to get involved in this campaign. But most of all, think about how you can help get these bills passed. You know, it just takes creative energy, and it takes people all over the state. We have grassroots community campaigns going on now in cities across the state, and they're going to their local media, and they're getting editorials in their paper, and they're getting on the radio, and they're talking about GMOs. Sunlight is the enemy of Monsanto. What we need to do is we need to get the word out about this, and every one of you can help do that. The industry is set to unveil a national campaign, a public relations campaign to try to defeat these labeling efforts in states across the country. They're going to use moms and farmers. They're going to take them to these conferences where they tell them all the good things about the biotech industry and then ask them to write on their blogs and tell their stories. And they've got tons of money so they can do this. But we've got more people, you know, we've got the truth on our side. So there's just no doubt that we can win. And the tide is already turning, really. I know you know the saying, the first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and you win. The good news is we're in phase 3, okay? They're already fighting us. Somebody asked me about a year and a half ago, have you had any opposition yet? And I said, no, not really. And they said, why not? And I said, because we haven't posed a credible threat. Now we are posing a credible threat in states across the nation. And they're paying attention, and they're waking up, and they're realizing they got to do something about this. They're in damage control. The messages that they've been using are not working anymore. They've been talking about reducing pesticides. It increases pesticides. They're talking about how it's good for farmers. Farmers keep telling us they want to get out of this rat race. So they're off their game, and we have an opportunity. We have a window of time and a moment that we can seize right now to make GMO labeling happen. So we're in phase 3. The 4th phase is winning. We're planning on doing that next year. Next legislative session, we're going to have built a powerful statewide campaign, and we're going to let our legislators know that we demand GMO labeling in this state. If the federal government's not going to do it, we're going to take it in our hands and we're going to do it for them. Thank you. With what Nancy just
like
said in mind, the House
righttoknowmn.org. Thank you. That was really good.
It's the Farm Bill. It's one of their preliminary versions that's now in the Senate. This Farm Bill included an amendment called the King Amendment, or the Protect Interstate Commerce Act, that will effectively nullify all state GMO labeling laws. Yeah, super boo. It's like, yes, exactly. Just cover balloon, that's fine. One of our petitions to Minnesota Congress people is specifically addressing this amendment. It is so important that we let our legislators know that that is not acceptable. We have our labeling bills right there, right now. We can do this. This is our food. It's our food future. Please go sign the petition and please call your representative. On to happier tones. Grancy's Meats and Fish. They are based in Linden Hills, Minneapolis. Not only, so they've been open 10 years and are still working with the same small farmers in southeastern Minnesota that they have since they opened. But additionally, they sell wild game. Cool. Also want to say thank you to Dale at Green Rock Radio. He had us on last week, and Green Rock Radio sponsored us very, very, very kindly. So thank you so much. Green Rock Radio can be heard on AM 950. If you Google Green Rock Radio, you can listen to their podcast. We have an impromptu guest speaker, musician, I would like to welcome Magic Mama. She's an eco-edutainer. Say that. Seriously, eco-edutainer is so fun. Come on. Thank you. I would like to plant a seed in your consciousness in the form of the nature of the little jungle. It's simple that you're cannibalistic, must be anti-toxic. You know the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, hey, damn, you don't know it. Super that you're cannibalistic, must be anti-toxic.
Good.
I wish I could now say analogies for it to their sponsors. But it's too late. I've named all of them. So thank you. You guys are our sponsors as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Everybody that contributed. Everybody that paid the time and showed up. You are all just wonderful. Next, we're going to invite Steve Japan from the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, also known as IATP. So if you didn't know that IATP means the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, now you do. Steve is a senior policy analyst at IATP, where he's worked since 1993. He mainly worked there by translating German veterinary journals to find out why German veterinarians were opposed to using Monsanto's recombinant building hormone on dairy cattle. Steve represents Consumers International at the Codex Alimentarius Commission and the International Food Standards Organization, whose standards are presumed to be authoritative by the World Trade Organization. He writes the Global Food Safety Monitor, an electronic bulletin that explains U.S. food safety regulation and diplomacy to an international readership, and has been researching the application of nanotechnology to food and agriculture since 2007. Earlier this month, IATP published his Nanomaterials in Our Soil, Our Future Food Chain, an essay on the use of sub-molecular-sized metal oxides in fertilizer products. Thank you, Steve.
Codex Alimentarius.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. On behalf of IATP, I'd like to thank you all for your activism on these very important issues surrounding the control and the future of our food supply and our agricultural system. Unfortunately, our president, Jim Harkness, couldn't be here today because he's in China doing work on the industrial meat system that is basically starting in the United States and now is globalized around the world. I've got just a couple of objectives today. The chief one being to get all of you to write to Senators Franklin and Klobuchar and to tell them to support an amendment that has just been put into the Farm Bill by Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. This amendment, the purpose of this amendment is to strip out a provision that was snuck in at midnight, literally, in the last budget resolution. This was an amendment to the budget resolution written by Monsanto, put into the must-pass budget resolution that basically suspends the application of the National Environmental Protection Act. Right now, you have to have a full environmental impacts assessment whenever you have a new crop introduced. And this bill basically kills the National Environmental Protection Act because the Center for Food Safety in Washington, D.C. has successfully sued the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Agriculture for failing to conduct proper risk assessment studies. And for this reason, they want to basically circumvent the law. Thank you. There we go. I want to go back a little bit, however, to try to put this request of mine in a broader context, because Monsanto has been circumventing the law for a really long time, and their claims that the regulations that supposedly declare their products to be safe or based on science are also bogus. As Addie said, so my first encounter with Monsanto was back in 1993 when I first joined IATC. And at that time, European veterinarians were refusing to use recombinant bovine growth hormone on dairy cattle to increase milk production by about 20% because of all of the terrible things that it did to dairy cattle. And that was on the label of the Poselac RBGH product. And then the United States tried to concoct a mutual recognition agreement with the European Union to try to get the European Union to basically set aside its animal welfare laws so that Monsanto could export this product to Europe. Well, flash forward 20 years later, and Monsanto and the State Department and the USDA are still trying to get international approval at the Codex Alimentarius Commission to require all countries to accept the use of this product, which Monsanto no longer owns. It's now owned by Dow Ico. But it's a terrible product. They do terrible things to cattle. It ends their lives and all for a very dubious increase in dairy production at a time when there's really too much milk in this country in terms of what farmers can make a living on. One of the things that Monsanto often talks about is sound science, that its products are backed by sound science. Sound science is a PR slogan that was concocted to try to make the argument that secondhand smoke didn't have any effect on health. Okay? So this is a bizarre use of the idea of science, because the science that is presented to the Environmental Protection Agency, to the Food and Drug Agency, is not peer-reviewed science. What gets presented are voluntary presentations by the company of the science that its own scientists have done. And I want to read to you a paraphrase of a letter that Monsanto or other transgenic manufacturers would get, declaring that their products are, quote, safe, unquote. What these letters say, and this is almost verbatim, the letter doesn't say peer-reviewed science and independent testing that found your products to be safe. What it says instead is, we understand that according to data that you have submitted voluntarily to the agency, mostly is confidential business information, so you can't see what that data is, that you understand the products derived from this transgenic event to be safe as their conventional counterparts under the 1986 Framework Agreement on Biotechnology Regulation. It is your responsibility to ensure the continued safety of these products. So that's what safety is, okay? And this is what then our government spends enormous amounts of money marketing for the company. I can recommend to you wonderful work being done by Michael Hansen at Consumers Union, Bill Fries at the Center for Food Safety, Doug Sherman-Gurian at the Union of Concerned Scientists that can give you much more detail about what an actual approval process looks like. So I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the broader context of how the U.S. government supports Monsanto, even when the Department of Justice has found that Monsanto has violated U.S. law. And here's three examples of this. Back in 2004, Monsanto bribed the Indonesian government, the official Indonesian government, to approve GMOs for import into its country. the agents of the Justice Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, had Monsanto polled. What should happen when you've violated a U.S. law is that you lose all contracts, and Monsanto has hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. government contracts. Instead, the Justice Department, under pressure from the Bush administration, applied a doctrine called deferred prosecution. Deferred prosecution is what you do to juvenile delinquents. You basically say, okay, if you don't do this crime again for 3 years, we're going to wipe the criminal record away. We're going to give you a clean record. So they give Monsanto this deferred prosecution, $1 million fine, which hardly pays for their stationery. And they were allowed to keep all their contracts. Some of these contracts are really choice. There's a remarkable article that was just published by Food and Water Watch in Washington, D.C., on the basis of 936 WikiLeaks documents. And it shows basically the State Department going around and threatening countries, especially small African countries, saying, if you don't accept these GMOs, if you don't change your seed laws, well, you may not get preferential access to U.S. to export what you provide to the international marketplace, and so on and so forth. And then there are other threats implied. One of the things that's so bizarre about this is that the governments of Ghana and Kenya are not asking for genetically modified number 2 yellow corn. What they want, because 40% of their food rots in the fields for lack of cold storage facilities, lack of market roads, lack of drying sheds. So this is what they're asking for help to build. And instead, what we give them are Monsanto pesticides and Monsanto transgenically modified seeds. Another thing that our U.S. Trade Representative has done is when the U.S. lost a decision at the World Trade Organization because of our cotton subsidies, Brazil had the right to $800 million of retaliation against the United States every year. So the U.S. Trade Representative managed to bargain this down to giving Brazil $144 million every year of Monsanto seeds and pesticides. So our government is spending our tax dollars on $144 million of seeds and pesticides in order to buy off Brazil from having further retaliation for a decision that we lost at the World Trade Organization. Now, an honest company doesn't bribe foreign officials. It doesn't buy them indirectly by employing them as lobbyists to rewrite the laws, as they've done in Mexico, as they've done in dozens of countries. And because this company is desperate, because it has a lot of junk bond, a lot of debt, really the junk bonds, they are desperate to remove the Environmental Protection Act. And so what they did is, during negotiations on the budget resolution in March, they had Roy Blunt, the senator from Missouri, drop in a provision in a budget resolution that had to pass unless the government was simply going to break down. And what this provision said was, farmers may plant genetically altered sugars, that it's sugar beet seed and alfalfa and other transgenic products, even if they have not been subject to a full environmental impact assessment, which is required by the National Environmental Protection Act. So one of the reasons that it's crucial that you write to Senators Franklin and Klobuchar and say, this is a company that routinely violates the law. Why are you supporting them? Why don't you stand up and show the Senate that we still live in a country that's run by the rule of law and not by the rule of Monsanto? by doing this, you know they're going to restore the rule of law, but farmers are just getting hammered now because the Monsanto products are failing. We now have more than 61 million acres in this country of superweeds. The promise that Monsanto always made was that one application of Roundup would take care of everything, no problems. Now farmers are putting out 3 and 4 applications of Monsanto. So they're losing money. You're having a more poison cocktail. Now the solution that Monsanto is presenting is basically to ask the USDA and the EPA to approve a corn seed, soybeans that are genetically altered to resist dicamba and 2,4-D, which are basically cousins of Agent Orange. Those of you who are old enough to know what Agent Orange did, both the human health and environmental health, will be horrified that this is even being considered. In order to ensure that these products never come on the market, we have to have a strong Environmental Protection Act. We have to have senators who are willing to stand up to midnight drop-in resolutions and will say, we can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore because, among other reasons, we have a very inexpensive way of avoiding the need for these products, and that is rotate the crops. Right now we have corn and corn planting, which basically invites all the pest infestation that we now have. So, by supporting Senator Jeff Merkley's amendment, which was just introduced on Monday night, you can reestablish the rule of law. You can reestablish our environment, and you can support farmers and the food that we eat. Thank you very much. I believe that there's a postcard that I'm supposed to be going around to. Okay, so good. So we're going to support this amendment, and we are going to beat back Monsanto. Thank you very much.
So, I'm running out of batteries. That was due from Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy. That's IATT.org. They also invented peace coffee, like fair trade coffee trading, stuff like that. So, and he mentioned Codex Alimentarius, which was interesting and rarely referenced. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to cut it there.
Hello.
I know T-shirt Toby is around
Thank you, Steve.
somewhere. He probably has better battery than I do, so you can find that at
Before we move on,
livestream.tv/OccupyMN. That's T-shirt Toby's live stream. OSHA, Caros, the
it is so easy in our urban community.
So I'm going to cut it there because I don't need power.
Forget that agricultural law impacts us in our day-to-day. It's even easier for our